Stillborn to Life, a Novella by Valerie Stevens. Chapter 9. I have tread where I should not have tread, yet it is too late, and the truth has become so tragically distorted that the lie becomes all too seductive. And oftentimes we come to have danced with lies for so long they become the only verities we know. And when I open my eyes every morning to greet the day anew, there they hover at the bedside, so diligently, eager for my command. They say there is no such thing as a truth which saves, and I believe them, even as I lie again to myself. I want to feel unbridled joy, yet I mistakenly revel in my own enslavement, as the lies sneer with smug comeuppance at my naivete. Joy, they say, is the only true prevarication, and oh, how I know those entities so well, yet still fail to catch them at their game. And I am saved only when I allow myself to realize that their voices are not my own, and are out only to maim, perplex, and distract from the pursuit of my nobler goals. And this is when I stop to remember beauty. Pulchrum est id quod visum placet. Beauty is indeed that which pleases the eye of the beholder. And of course there is the beauty of pure aesthetics, that which is concerned with the physical, and beauty of the soul, that which is of a much more transcendental quality. The ultimate beauty of the latter kind I have always thought to be found in humility, an acquiescence exalted which this wretched ruminative mind and pitiable soul have failed countless times to find and hold a tight enough rein upon. For most seemingly have both everything to prove and everything to lose. And the greatest of these to lose grasp of is beauty. For beauty is both a blessing and an equally taxing vexation when the mind, soul, and body once possessed it in its fullest fruition, yet now lie in great want of. What is beauty? Some find it in abundance only where fear lays cohabitant with lust. How does one put this into words? Yet I must find a way somehow. The ones who revel in its secrets and its mystery are also the ones who harbor the most fear and trembling within their hearts. For beauty is power, but a power unsurpassed, as it permeates its way languidly throughout the thin membrane of the fragile human essence like soft moonlight after the unbearable radiance of the sun has submitted from a long, hot summer mundane consciousness. Here is one of its secrets of beauty. It whispers, yet it rages. It is sly, though not in the least bit coy, and lets only those who dare enter into its presence. For it is a presence of the most primeval forms of mind, metaphysics, and matter. Beauty is in the way that everything in nature knows its place and is violently corrected when it steps out of line. Yes, beauty is in grace. Yet beauty can also be the oldest alibi in the book to abdicate from a variety of crimes, as the mortal human mind sees just as much eloquence in hatred as in love. The heart always bleeds, while the conceptual, shape-seeking flesh's eye knows not. Yet the heart is what determines all in the end. And thus must we learn to condition our minds to the suspension of the disbelief that the ponderance of all things good and wholesome are far more meritorious than that searching embrace of all things vile and gratifying only to that staggeringly insolent and arrogant arrogant anti-imago divinus that is our stigmatic earthly heritage. Yet, like dust to dust, the blissful merging, the soft, supple form of this matter at hand pulls with the dense calcified masses of irony. For the womb of any impulse nourishes and seeks to substantiate not what we feign to need and believe is our feed, but with that which we have sought to neglect through our covetous obsessions. But necessity harbors neither memory nor knowledge of how the disease and diffidence of this existence insinuates itself malignantly into essence day in and day out. And this sentience of cognition and void synthesis became both fragmented and whole within the roving, quivering eye of lust, suspension, and burgeoning. And for a brief moment in time, I saw her, the lost oblivion, and all was revealed to me in such resplendent simplicity that love, lust, and beauty revealed themselves to be the unholy trinity of all raison d'etre. For there, along with food, shelter, and hydration, again lay longing, an essential of costly omission. And as it stretched and retreated like the tired arm of God, I learned in that moment a very essential thing. That the longed for is merely an objectification, a subjectification of an even greater need. And only after knowing this can a human soul come face to face with its Creator, a being who wants us to know that when we begin our final descent and have come to the intersection where we must ask ourselves what we want and can no longer provide the answer for ourselves, ascension awaits, home. Thus, it was not any rebuke that could not bear on her part after all was said and done. It was her silence, lazy, loathsome, and meandering, always choosing to nestle itself and mating me within the already crowded chambers of my mind. Yet she thought that this would bring me relief, cruel to be kind. Yet it was exactly in that moment that she would have given away her comprehension of my need and her part in fulfilling it. For I would often remind her of how silence spoke more vehemently and eloquently than any verbal dissonance. Perhaps my fervency must just have frightened her, but any inanity aches for the sweet, simplifying salve of understanding and acceptance. And I would tell her not to write me off just yet, for many of her ways were foreign to me. And although I could not fully improvise, I also knew the necessity of random pseudo-consolation. Yet I held no grudges for her mute, deaf, and dumbed-down concern, for through her insouciant evasion was mirrored only her own reflection, so akin to mine. Fear in any form always reveals us. Yet as long as I remained in the state I was in, I could not give without first partaking. She was by far not my ultimate or final solution, yet was a very essential part of the formula for the undoing of my undoing. My need for her was not vital, but it was visceral. My heart had a hollow reverberation when faced with the absence of her relation. My blood ran chilled with the rush of toxic yearning. My laughter came from the lungs, wheezy and shallow, instead of from the gut, brazen and keen. My bones were silent and stiff as they struggled to move both towards and away from her solemn withdrawal. My sweat tasted of impending neurosis, and what of my mind? It wished that it could merge with hers. But the mind is a diffident cell. It lets in many invaders, but will not dare enter into another mind which so neglectfully refuses truth. And what of my soul? It was unfazed, but not immune. There simply was no one like her. She could be let go of, but never replaced. I was always filled with utter abandon. My door was always open. No amount of truth could shut me in, as no amount of truth could shut her out. All I wanted was for her to strip herself away and dive into me like she had done on our first night together. She was the only one who knew me and could exonerate me of the crimes of such disorderly cognitive conduct that I had racked myself with all of those years. Yet still, it ended perhaps both despite and because of my intense yen for her. And after I had completed my first year of university, for the summer I had off before returning, the professor and his wife invited me to travel to Europe with them. I accepted their gracious offer and we set off. Our first destination was France. I had taught myself a little of the local customs and catchphrases, so I figured I could fare pretty well. Our first night there in Paris, we all attended the opera. I had never been one for the opera, but did not want to offend my patrons, and so I went. After that, we all went back to the suite, sipped wine, and chatted. For the next 3 months, we tried to take in all we could of the sights of London, Milan, Brussels, and Prague. I had managed so far to keep myself on good behavior and was feeling more hopeful by the time my first semester of my second year began. But my demons were always toiling beneath the surface and pining for release. For when the light goes out, the shadows may appear that they have vanished, but be not deceived, for this just means that it has morphed into all-encompassing darkness. I often became seduced by the devil, mistaking freedom for redemption. Yet it is not unlike fate, and is very fragile, and if we neglect it, both light and shadow may be lost to our sight, and henceforth will the darkness be better equipped to deceive us. Shadow and light must coexist not merely because of their complementarity, but because in due time they will eventually cancel each other out, and all that will be left is the choice, and an eager new void, ever hopeful and infinite.